Okay, so this is the review sheet for the Applied Science Cell and Respiration and Obtaining Materials for Respiration. So I'm going to go through the answers quickly and you can double check your answers as I go through it. So we have, the first question then is, what is the word equation for aerobic respiration? So what we need for aerobic respiration, we need glucose and we need oxygen. And they are converted to, so we put the arrow forward to it's converted to or broken down to carbon dioxide and water. And we also produce energy. Okay, so where do we get each reactant from? So the reactants are what we take in from respiration. So we have glucose and we have oxygen. And if you remember, glucose is our posh word for sugar. So we get our glucose from our food and our drink, what we take in on a daily basis, and then we get oxygen from the air that we breathe in around us. Then we've got the opposite then. What is the word equation for anaerobic respiration? Anaerobic respiration, we still get glucose because we still get it from our food and our drink. However, this takes place when we haven't got any oxygen. So we don't have oxygen now in this equation. Normally this would happen then during some form of exercise. And what happens then, that glucose is broken down and it forms lactic acid. And you know you've got lactic acid, that tends to be your cramp when you are running or doing any form of exercise. Then we have, what does the word oxygen debt mean? Oxygen debt means it's the oxygen needed to remove lactic acid. So after you've done your exercise and we start to breathe normally, during our resting, the oxygen we first breathe in is used to remove that lactic acid. We need it to remove that lactic acid and to remove that cramp we've done during anaerobic respiration. If we go down, we've also then looked at an animal and a plant cell. Okay, we're very, very familiar with what this looks like. Okay, so we have our animal cell, and surrounding our animal cell, we have what is called our cell membrane. And if you remember, the cell membrane controls what enters and exits the cell. It acts like our bouncer. Right in the centre, we have our nucleus, and our nucleus contains DNA. Then we have what we call our mitochondria, and our mitochondria are really, really important for our topic because it provides energy through respiration. It's where respiration takes place. And then where all the organelles are held, as you can see through my marker, that is called our cytoplasm, and it is where all chemical reactions in a cell takes place. In a plant cell then, our plant cell has these four organelles. It has a cell membrane, which is our inside line. We also then have the nucleus, which we've got here. We have our mitochondria still, and then we have the cytoplasm where all our chemical reactions take place. But it also then has three extra organelles. It has the cell wall, which surrounds the cell membrane, and as we all remember, it strengthens and protects the cell. Then we have in the centre our vacuole, which contains cell sap and water. And then we have our chloroplast, which absorbs sunlight for photosynthesis. This is how a plant makes food. If we scroll down there, we start with a bit of digestion. And it's all about bile. So we've got, where is bile made? Bile is made in our liver. Okay. And then where's bile stored? So after we've eaten food and the liver's released our bile, if we have any excess bile, it gets stored in our gallbladder, which is located next to our liver. And what's the function of bile? Well, it neutralises our stomach acid. Okay, when you eat your food, then after you've had your meal, then bile's released to neutralise the stomach acid in your stomach. And it also helps break down fat, because fat's a really, really large molecule. It's hard for the body to break down, so we need bile to help break it down into smaller pieces for us, so enzymes can then break it down further. If we go across and look at other organs of the digestive system, let's start here with the mouth. Okay, as we know, the mouth is the start of digestion. Okay, it starts to break down the food into smaller pieces. When we have smaller pieces, it's easy for us to swallow, but just break it down to increase that surface area. Also then we have saliva produced obviously when we're eating food, and that saliva contains amylase. Okay, that amylase is going to start the breakdown of our food. Our stomach then, it produces protease, which is an enzyme, and we know that because it ends in ASE. Okay, it also contains hydrochloric acid. And we have hydrochloric acid to kill any bacteria and germs that are in our food, just to try and prevent us from becoming ill. And also then the stomach lining will contract, which will churn the food to make sure all of it gets digested. Think of it like a washing machine, all of it moving around. Then we have our pancreas, and it produces digestive enzymes. It produces the 3 enzymes that we need to break down starch, protein and fats. We've got our small intestine then. This is where digestion is completed. After this, there's no more digestion taking place. So with that then, in the small intestine, we have absorption of nutrients. So all your food, the nutrients you get from your food is absorbed back into the blood in the small intestine. If we scroll down, we have the large intestine then. So as the stool essentially passes through into the large intestine, we have the absorption of water. So any excess water in our food, we will absorb back into the blood. As you know, we've just said the liver produces bile, which is needed to neutralise stomach acid. And we have our esophagus. Okay, now esophagus connects our mouth to our stomach, and the food moves through peristalsis. And if you can't remember what peristalsis is, peristalsis are contractions, and they force the food through the digestive system. Okay, right, then we're going to look at how the following enzymes work. Okay, so we get it all up, lovely. Okay, so we have carbohydrates enzyme, and it breaks down our carbohydrates, so our starchy molecules, okay, like rice, pasta, etc. Okay, and they are broken down into glucose. And what do we need glucose for? Well, nice easy one. We need it for respiration. Okay, so we need it for respiration. And what do we get from respiration? We get energy, just how we get our energy. We then have lipase, and it breaks down fats into fatty acid and glycerol. And we need fatty acid and glycerol, we need it for insulation, essentially to keep us warm, and we need it for protection of organs. Protect our organs. Even you can be the skinniest person, but you will still have some fat around your organs. Then we have protease enzyme, which breaks down protein into amino acids, and we need amino acids for growth and repair of cells. Okay, right, then let's look at the following chemical tests. So we can use an iodine solution, and we will test for starch. And if starch is present in a food sample, it will turn iodine from orange to our dark blue-black colour. We then have a Benedict solution, and we can use that to test for glucose. And if the glucose is present in our food solution, Benedicts will turn from blue to orange or brick red. Okay, if we say brick red or red, make sure we use the word brick, don't just write red, we won't get the mark for it. Then we have the burette solution, and that is our test for protein. And if protein is present, our burette solution will turn from blue to our purple colour. And then our last bit then, let's have a look what happens when we breathe in. So if you all take a really deep breath in now, you will notice that your ribs will move up and out. Okay, at the exact same time, our diaphragm will contract because it's a muscle, so it's going to contract, and it will flatten. Okay, as it flattens, okay, the volume inside our lungs will increase. Okay, and as the volume increases, the pressure will decrease. And with the pressure decreasing inside the lungs, air is drawn into our lungs. When we look at breathing out is the exact opposite. If you notice, as you're writing it, you'll find out you're writing the exact opposite. So when we breathe out, instead of the ribs going up and out, they're going to go down and in. At the same time then, our diaphragm is going to relax, okay, and it's going to dome up into that semicircular shape. At the same time, because it's domed back up, the volume inside the lungs is going to decrease. With that, then the pressure will increase, so therefore air is forced out of our lungs. Okay, and if we go back, that should be all of our review sheets. So I hope you all got it done, and I will see you next lesson.